I'm going to say something, and it's probably going to be very controversial, but I believe it to be true. Um, I believe that Black women unintentionally teach and promote colorism within Black households. As the first and primary teachers of the children, it's not lost on anyone. It's like the elephant in the room that boys and girls are growing up to be colorists either because of what they're hearing from their moms and or dads, but we know that a lot of Black households are women led, and even if fathers are present, women mothers are the first and most important teachers. So, we can say all day, like, E. Kane this, E. Kane that, but E. Kane learned to be a colorist more than likely from her Black mother. And that is a very unfortunate truth. And it's almost like, okay, now here we can bring in Malcolm X. Who taught you to hate yourself? We already know the answer to that: white supremacy. Um, it's a byproduct of slavery. Life was easier for, or perceived as being easier for the enslaved blacks who did not have to pick cotton, who did not have to work in the fields. Now they had their own set of challenges in the big house, so to speak. But I believe that whatever hierarchy that started during colonial times, during slavery, when there was that split between house and field blacks, that as a natural byproduct of that, Black women and Black men began to take on the opinion that life was easier for light skinned blacks. And life being easier became them being prettier, them being um, perceived in a, and probably because at the time, a lot of times, there were more advantages to being the child of, we could see it in the example of Thomas Jefferson. His children had better access to education, they had better access to professions, trades, things like that. And so it became like a self-fulfilling prophecy almost, that this proximity to whiteness did produce better outcomes for the children of the white men who had the power to carve out pathways for them. And that is not as unheard of as we often think it might be. Um, and so I think that the status, like the social status or status, however you want to say it, of light skinned blacks through the lens of a darker skinned black person, they're looking at them have an easier life. And so it just became all things positive and more of a life of ease. And in addition to that, also this thought process that there was more beauty associated with their proximity to whiteness. So I don't fault Black women for perpetuating colorism, because I think I'm a real big believer in epigenetics, which is that the teaching and the psychological studies back it up, that trauma hits the nervous system and can be passed on genetically. And so, for whatever reason, historically, all the reasons that From the outside looking in, darker skinned Black Americans will look at the social status and the privileges of lighter skinned Blacks who had more proximity to whiteness and more advantages because of that, and associated that with all things positive. That may have just been boiled down or simplified to prettier, and then it is perpetuated in Hollywood and the media. So, whatever seed of truth in that, it's kind of like our Black women colorists or perpetuating colorists, and I know that's a very broad statement, but I'm gonna let it ride just like that. Our Black women perpetuating colorism, because historically things were easier for lighter skinned Blacks through the eyes of a darker skinned Black person. Um, is it just surface level about being pretty? I think it started off with social status and eventually became watered down to just a surface level pretty type thing that's being perpetuated along with featureism and texturism, especially texturism, in Black households and communities across the globe. But we're talking about the U.S. right now because obviously E. Kane is an American. So when it comes to really thinking about why Black women are colorists, there is a historical undertone that can't be ignored. And I don't think it's just as simple as them thinking that, you know, just across the board, um, light skin is all things pretty and all things good. I don't think it's that, but I do think it may be associated more so with the life of ease for all the reasons I've named. It's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Did colorism come into existence because of the social status associated with it? Because I don't think it's all just about aesthetics. I think that's insulting to Black people to think it's all just about aesthetics. I think it's more of a social class thing, and you know, money, opportunities, things like that. But what do you think? Do you disagree with me when I say that Black women perpetuate colorism, and that E. Kane probably learned that from her mama, either intentionally or unintentionally, by not taking a stand against colorism? It allowed it to get into her deep, deep subconscious, so much so that she would just come and trash her audience. Do you think it's all about aesthetics? Um, or do you think it's about social class? Let me know what you think. I do think it's an unfortunate truth. Um, I do think boys and girls learn colorism primarily from their mothers, either by them being exposed to it directly or, again, it not being dismantled. But in any event, I think overall, Kane is someone that is deeply troubled, and you know, yeah, that's all I can say about that. Thanks for listening.